A lot of people in this era have the argument of who the most underrated WWE wrestler was in the last decade. And I'll give you my answer in this video. Today, I'll be giving you my reason why I think the visionary, the revolutionary, Seth freaking Rollins is the most underrated WWE superstar, not of this last decade, of all time. So we got to join this video. It's going to be a nice one to record. Always, remember, smash the like, subscribe button to the flipping channel, and let's get into this one. So Seth Rollins has been in the WWE for over 13 years now. Of course, debuting on the main roster with The Shield, including Dean Ambrose, and the man we all know, Roman Reigns. Debuting as The Shield and going on to be one of the most dominant factions in the history of WWE. But before that, Seth Rollins was named Tyler Black. He won a lot of championships on the indie scene in New Japan Wrestling. And he was a great superstar, you know. He was the first ever NXT champion when NXT was first introduced. And he had a great rise in the main roster. He debuted and then quickly after won the WWE Tag Team Championship at the time with, of course, Roman Reigns. Beating Daniel Bryan and Kane at Extreme Rules 2013 to win the tag titles and hold them for multiple months. Of course, Seth Rollins was the reason why the Shield went away, you know. And then winning Money in the Bank was joining the Authority, of course. And then in just under 2 years since his debut, oh no, was it 2 years? Yeah, 2 years or 3 years, whatever. 3 years since his debut, Seth Rollins won the WWE World Championship for the first time in his career, cashing in at WrestleMania, being the first man to ever do it at the time, and making it being called the heist of the century, and being now known by many as the greatest cash-in of all time in WWE history, to strip the WWE title away from Roman Reigns in the palm of his hands, and of course the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania 31 in 2015, which now saying that's 10 years ago, well over 10 years ago. It is mental. It is actually mental. But just before we carry on, more reason why Seth Rollins is one of the greatest, just his in-ring work. Seth Rollins' in-ring work, he's incredible. He can be a high flyer. He can pull off so many different ways of wrestling, but he can pull off so many moves, and he makes wrestling matches entertaining, you know. And this is why people want him to hold championships, even if they dislike him as a wrestler, because he's so good and puts on a show for them, so they can enjoy it even more than they normally would with other superstars that can't wrestle like Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins had injuries that have hurt him his career. He could have been so much more if injuries with his knee and his back and his shoulder, of course, didn't, of course, happen. But when you're wrestling for over 20 years of your life, physical sport, week in, week out, it catches up to you slowly. And some people don't have the bodies to be like brick walls and never ever fall apart. So sometimes, eventually, when you keep putting the pressure over and over again, it gets to you eventually. So it is quite sad. So with injuries, of course, having him miss the WrestleMania after his heist of the century, coming back, taking a while to win championships, but then, of course, winning the Intercontinental Championship in 2018 to become a Grand Slam champion at WrestleMania 34, defeating The Miz and Finn Balor, of course. But that is just his accomplishments, you know. He's a Grand Slam champion. I think he's actually a 2-time Grand Slam champion now, to be fair. But, you know, he's just, you know, it's really great. But let's move on to something else. Now let's talk about Seth Rollins with factions. Seth Rollins has been very good at leading or being in factions. Of course, like we said, he debuted with The Shield. He debuted in a faction with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Of course, splitting up from The Shield to join the Authority, including Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Randy Orton, Kane, and a couple more. I can't remember all the names now. He joined them. Then, of course, in 2020, he made like the Vision #1, if you could say. But like, that include Akam, Razar, Austin Theory, Buddy Murphy. That was really good as well. Of course, loads of Shield reunions in between this. And now in 2025, he made the Vision, including Big Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and the Wise Man, now known as the Oracle, Paul Heyman by his side, with Seth Rollins becoming a Paul Heyman guy in his career to add another accomplishment to his career, you know, because Paul Heyman had been by his side as an accomplishment, because that man is an absolute G. He's an OG, we should say. He's been around for time. But just him with factions, he's a very good leader. He can lead a faction very well, but he can also play the big part in a faction. And the most recent one, of course, with the Vision, was very interesting, you know. It didn't get the ending like we all wanted because of his injury, of course, having him relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship back in October. And then they had to break up because there was more potential with that group. They could have gone on longer. We could have seen Braun and Bronson win the tag titles. And they could have made the Vision like a remake of the Bloodline like Roman Reigns and the Usos had. Because it was such a strong faction. And Seth Rollins could have added more talent like Logan Paul, who's now in the group. And possibly Austin Theory. We could have seen so much more talent in the Vision, making it like the Bloodline remake to carry Monday Night Raw and be the top guy. And Seth Rollins was doing that without any more members. He'd done it with just him and Bron Breakker at one point. They were carrying Raw, and Seth Rollins having great matches, being a heel. But again, like this, Seth Rollins can play both. Seth Rollins can be a heel and a face. I think he's a heel better sometimes. I think he's just, that devious laugh and everything. He suits it. But still, him being a face is very, very good. We saw a face between 2022 to 2025, of course. 3 years as a face was very, very good, but he's had a little face in between, of course, when he won the Universal Championship in 2019, he was a face, and there's been a lot of times he's been a face. I don't know if he's better as a heel, but, he can play both. Whenever they need him to change or anything, he's right there at it, and the way he does it is great as well. It never looks like it's ever rushed, it never looks like it's ever like a panic, like we need to turn him this. He just does it with a breeze, and he makes it always look good, the way he turns face and heel. And this is one big thing. Some might understand this. There's always a reason for him turning. Not like other turns. John Cena. Nope. But, I think him leading factions more than anything is just, he's very good at it. And he can be faction, he can be by himself, he can be fighting factions, being it, just like, he can do it all, Seth Rollins. Like a heel, face, he can do it all. So, let's move on. And last but not least, let's talk about his world title reigns. Seth Rollins is a 7-time world champion in his WWE career. Of course, the WWE Championship of the highest century, being the inaugural World Heavyweight Champion back in 2023, defeating AJ Styles at Night of Champions, of course. And now a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion in 2 years. But Seth Rollins is one of them guys that has a great world title reign, There's been 1 or 2 that have been a little bit lackluster, but he normally puts on a show. And he's always trusted, If we look back at 2023, I love Roman Reigns, but he wasn't turning up as much. We definitely can agree on that. And they needed a champion, as Roman Reigns had unified both the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship together to make the Undisputed Universal Championship, which was now staying permanently on SmackDown. So Raw was without a world title. Their main title for a couple of months was the United States Championship, which just was not hitting. Like, come on, man. It's the United States Championship. We need to do better than that. And that was good when the United States Championship was good back then. Sorry if I'm speaking so fast. The United States Championship was actually quite good back then before it got absolutely ruined by the Open Challenges. So Raw introduced the World Heavyweight Championship, which of course was the remake of the remake of the Gold World Heavyweight Championship back in 2002. But Seth Rollins won it first, beating AJ Styles in the full and going on the full tournament to win it. And then had a long title reign of 316 days until WrestleMania 40, dropping it more because of injury to Drew McIntyre. Coming back, fighting a couple times for the title. But then he finally got back into the picture, cashing in to win the title. And he could have done so much more in his second title reign if it wasn't for an unfortunate injury, which really hit him hard, because that title reign was actually going quite good. I know he could have had a couple more defenses in his time, but he only held the title for just over 80 days. And then he was just stripped. He couldn't do anything about it. So when Seth Rollins comes back, he needs to fight for that World Heavyweight Championship once again, because I need to see my guy as champion. Maybe, just maybe, he goes after the Undisputed Championship instead. Maybe they turn Seth Rollins to a SmackDown superstar, as SmackDown is troubling bad right now. Troubling bad. It's not good. Really not good. But that's not the main thing right now. But just Seth Rollins in his in-ring work, like I said, the factions, the face and heel turns, how he can put on a show every time he has a match. He's still at this age of injuries. Even with injuries, of course, he's still a very, very great superstar. These world title reigns he's had. Seth Rollins, I can say as proudly, is the most underrated WWE superstar in the history of WWE. And you can argue all you want, but I'm sticking by my point. There's lots of wrestlers out there that are underrated, but no one underrated Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, for me, I argue top 15 in all time for him. Has to be. Hear me out on this one. I think there's some talent out there that are up there that Seth Rollins is better than. I think Seth Rollins as a wrestler and everything better than Batista. I think that. I stand by that. But there's a couple more out there. I can't think of all their names right now. But Seth Rollins is a generational talent, and we will never have another Seth Rollins. So let's cherish the years, maybe 3 to 5 years we've got left to Seth Rollins. Because, he's got his family getting bigger now, and the injuries are starting to catch up. He needs to be careful with his body, because health always comes first. But Seth Rollins, for me, is the most underrated WWE superstar of all time. Of course, drop your comments down below and your opinions, So thank you for watching the video. It has been nice to record. Always remember to smash that subscribe button to the channel, and I'll see you all day soon. Goodbye, guys.